Medieval iceberg explained. First up, we got the Black Death. This was the devastating disease known as the bubonic plague that swept through Europe and Asia in the middle of the 1300s. It wiped out about 25 to 50 million people and was estimated to have taken out about 50% of Europe's population. This was the most fatal pandemic in human history, and while it was extremely terrible on its own, the effects to society, the economy, and religion itself was a lot greater than people really realized it was. The Knights Templar, this was a medieval military order of Christians whose main goal was to protect the Holy Lands and people traveling to them. And then, later on we get the King of France that kind of betrayed them, and then, national treasure and that sort of thing. Little Ice Age, this was exactly what it sounded like. From the 1300s to the 1850s, there was significant colder temperatures because of three main factors. One was that there was 4 massive volcanic eruptions which caused the entire Earth to be colder. Another thing was there was extremely low sunspot activity. And 3 was that there was a lack of ocean circulating warm air for some reason. And what's really crazy is this likely caused major historical events that happened because of this that you probably didn't realize was because of the cold temperatures. The cool weather caused mass starvation at times, and a big thing also was discontent in society because of this, which made people do things like blame their neighbor for being a witch, or the Vikings abandoning Greenland, and even the French and English going over to North America, which caused one of the biggest events in any history, which was, one side of the world reconnecting with the other. The Dancing Plague, this was a mysterious phenomenon where in 1518, people in Strasbourg, which is now modern-day France, were dancing uncontrollably. It started with just one woman who was dancing to no music playing, and then amassed to about 400 people dancing uncontrollably for weeks, until somewhere between 15 to 400 people died of exhaustion and heart failure. Historians estimate that the cause of this was anywhere from stress-induced mass hysteria to ergot poisoning, which was basically just like a fungus that you could accidentally eat that, molded in your wheat or whatever that made you hallucinate and kind of go crazy. The phantom time hypothesis, this is basically the idea that medieval times never happened. So this is a conspiracy theory that 1640 to 911 AD, roughly 300 years, was made up in order to rewrite history. So the purpose of why this history would have been made up is because key figures like the Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, Pope Sylvester II, and possibly even the Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII were all working together to fabricate this period to align historical significant dates. Particularly, they wanted to basically make it look like Otto III was emperor right at 1000 AD because it made him look special for some reason. Of course, the phantom time hypothesis is complete pseudo-history, and I do not believe this theory, and there's like a ton of outside history outside of Europe that clearly happened during those 300 years. The Headless Men, or Blummies. So the Headless Men was this thing that was described in both ancient Greek and Roman mythology, where there was this weird tribe that different people said they saw that they described had no neck, no head, but rather facial features like eyes, their nose, their mouth, all on their chest and shoulders. The stories of them were told as long ago as 500 BC, and famous people were said to encounter these things, such as Alexander the Great. Now, while initially there was a real nomadic tribe called the Blummies in Nubia, which was this region along the Nile River in southern Egypt, the Blummies slowly became known as something more out of this world due to rumors of them being like cannibals and really violent. Later on in the Middle Ages, their mythical status grew, where they started to be depicted as just having a face in the middle of their chest, and the explanation for how this legend came about, people just think they misinterpreted pictures of these tribal people in combat stances where their head was tucked into their chest, and they also wore like traditional headdresses which made them look like they had no heads. So now they're known as the, no head No, they have no head people. People with no heads. Headless men, that's what I'm saying. Paintings with UFOs. So it seems there is a common theme through a few pieces of medieval artwork that shows a really wonderful normal picture and then a UFO up in the sky for some reason. One of the best examples of this is Madonna with Saint Giovannino, which looks like a normal Renaissance painting, but then in the background there's this little flying disc looking thing, and while some people say it's like just just a mess up or a blemish. I don't know why it would be a blemish, because they also painted a guy looking into the sky like this. So it's like they're drawing attention to it. And I'm not sure if this picture is correct, but I do believe they also put like light beams coming off of it. I mean, it really looks like a flying disc that was deliberately drawn in this picture. But there's also another picture that was painted a little bit later in like 1645 called The Baptism of Christ by Art D. Gilder. In this picture, we see what looks like a flying disc that's sending light beams down. And some people like to argue that it's supposed to be like the sun or the moon, but I mean, it looks exactly like a flying disc or a flying saucer. Others say it's supposed to be like representing God or the Holy Spirit, but it is a very strange picture, and I find it really cool. There's also the painting, the Crucifixion fresco, that was painted in 1350 that depicts people flying these crafts, but I think the crafts are supposed to represent the sun and the moon, which I think was just a big part of Byzantine culture. I think that's where this was painted, but others like to point to this phenomenon as being part of like the ancient astronaut theory, which I really like the idea of people in ancient times figuring out how to go up into space. Like, imagine, you know, you can't calculate anything, you don't have any technology, but maybe you have some sort of like primitive gunpowder or primitive rocket fuel, and you just blast yourself up into the atmosphere, and what are you going to do? There's no way you could come down, and you probably already suffocated at this point, so I don't know why. I guess you would just go up and that's it. You probably, I don't think they would make it. I bet their craft would like immediately break apart. But anyways, yeah, some people think there were astronauts in ancient times, and that's, you know, kind of a theory. Medieval found footage. So this could be referring to a couple things. There is this YouTube video called Medieval Found Footage that basically depicts a black and white video of what looks to be medieval times, soldiers walking around. It's showing different structures, but really it seems this footage came from like a couple different documentaries and movies and was all pieced together with a filter. But then, as you get further on in the video, all of a sudden there are World War II German soldiers. Basically, they have Die Glocke, which is supposed to be like this ancient mythical artifact that the Germans had during World War II that was either anti-gravity technology or a time machine. And so here I'm guessing it's supposed to be a time machine, and so you could probably conclude that this video is supposed to be taken by Germany during World War II when they got Die Glocke and then went back into medieval times and took a video and for some reason brought it back into the future, and they still didn't win the war. But they got this footage from medieval times. Yeah, Die Glocke. That'd be really cool if this was real. I like the idea of it. I mean, I think it would be sick if it was real, but it's not. Medieval found footage could also be referring to like Leonardo da Vinci and how he had this sfumato technique for painting. Like when he did the Mona Lisa, the way he blended colors was so incredible that it was so close to photorealistic that people don't understand how he did it. And so it's still a big mystery. Maybe the Mona Lisa is medieval found footage in that sense, that he somehow created a picture that was so close to found footage that we just don't understand it.